Thank you everyone for joining us for a little diversion this month. I see you all in the chat. I'm glad you had fun. I would like to welcome to the stage Vibha Gupta, who we were emailing a few months ago. Vibha came to Creative Mornings first at a 30-second pitch at an event. She told us about no immigrants, no spice. And since then, she has been serving as an emergency physician in Richmond. She is now the executive director of the nonprofit No Immigrants, No Spice, and became a new mother during the pandemic. So we thought, what a perfect chance for her to tell us about these many diverging paths. Everyone unmute or clatter in the chatter and welcome to the stage, Vibha Gupta. Woo! Oh, I have this.
Welcome.
Oh, welcome.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for inviting me to be here. So thank you so much for the kind introduction, Daniel. I have a very soft, warm spot in my heart for Creative Mornings because it is the place, Creative Mornings Oakland is where No Immigrants, No Spice actually started. And it was in, I forget the name of the place in West Oakland, where I gave my first pitch, and then I was just selling t-shirts in the back of the building. Just like, give me $15 if you want this shirt. And from there, it has evolved into something a little more complex. So I'm happy to be here and talk to you guys. So as Daniel said, my name is Vibha Gupta. I'm here today to talk about divergence. So thank you to Creative Mornings for having me here. And as Daniel said, the reason why I'm here is most likely because of the seemingly divergent pathways in which I live my life, that of an emergency medicine physician, a nonprofit founder, and a new mother. So the goal of my talk today is to explore how we can harness the divergence within ourselves towards a common social good. So just to like shake it off and get our creative selves engaged, I want everyone to do something. So when I say go, I want you to go to your pantry or cupboard and pick out a condiment that best represents who you are. So if you were a condiment or a spice, what condiment or spice would you be? And then I also want you to get a piece of paper and something to write with, preferably like a big fat tipped marker, and bring it back here and we're gonna circle back. So ready, go. Okay, I think most people are more or less back. You can always, you have about 15 minutes to change your mind. I know this is a high pressure thing that I've asked you to do. So I'm gonna keep going, but we're gonna circle back to that. So the theme of this month is divergence. There are many different definitions of divergence within science and mathematics, but we're not gonna be talking about vector calculus. What we're talking about today is the process or state of diverging. So let's move on to this very high fidelity graphic that I created. So I was born in 1986 and I will probably die in 2070 if I'm lucky. And according to this divergence graph, I could choose one of three pathways to follow from beginning to end of life. So take a look, and if you look at this, you can see the energy, the vectors of energy going outwards. Here's another graphic from birth to death that encompasses all three paths that I want to follow. So again, notice the way that the energy is pointed. So the question is, how do we go from birth to death and still be all the things that we want to be? And I believe what it all comes down to is the spice that keeps it together. You guys know I'm going to talk about spice during this talk. So it's your core values. So anybody here who's from a South Asian household knows what this is. This is a dabba. It's basically a container that contains the secret spice, the masala that each particular person wants to cook with. And every person has their own special blend, their own secret spice. And like a dabba, we all have our own special blend of traits and talents that make up who we are. And it's not easy to know exactly what your core values are. What is it that makes you who you are? Myself, it's taken years of therapy, plus, even in preparation for this talk, it took me a couple hours to sit down and write out exactly what makes me who I am, and trying to really distill down what are my core values. And and just write it out. And so what I would recommend for all of you, not right now, but in general, is to do this exercise. Sit down, call your mom, call the people that are closest to you, and just talk out, who am I and what is it that makes me who I am? And so for me, my core values, when I really distill it down, are compassion, a sense of justice, a love of people, thinking outside the box, impulsiveness, a little bit of hypomania, disorganization, and anxiety. So if you really know me, like, so it's both good and bad, right? Who I am, this is me in its completeness. And I think it's really important to think about the traits that you encompass, both good and bad, because that's who you are. So core values are who you are, and your anchors in life are those that help you be who you want to be. So overlying my own daba, my own special blend of spices that make me who I am, there are the many anchors in my life, ranging from my partner to my mother, who's actually here. I can't believe she made it onto Zoom. Hi, Mom. To my extended family, to my childhood friends, to my chosen family. These are the anchors that are the network that help constantly shape and reshape who I am. So they know who I am at a true base level, and they help keep me accountable to myself. And I also just want to make a quick plug for Putnam's theory of social capital, which essentially is that you are who you are connected to. So you need to choose your anchors carefully. In some ways, they choose you, right? But you also have agency to say, who are my anchors? Because your anchors are really going to be the echo chamber of who you want to be. I want to pivot for a moment over to the idea of effective altruism. So one can make the assumption that most people want to do good in the world. So effective altruism is the science of how to best do good in the world. And according to this framework of study, if you want to choose a problem, the problem should be one of three things. It should be great in scale, it should be highly neglected, and it should be highly solvable. So here's the opportunity to connect your core values to effective altruism to become a problem-solving machine. This is where you can harness your creativity and unique blend of self towards something bigger. So using myself as an example, I know that I'm creative and I know I'm empathetic. I love food. And at times I'm a social media narcissist. These are some things I know that I am and that I'm good at and I want to use towards something. And the something that I chose to work on is xenophobia. So this brings me back to 2016 when I started No Immigrants, No Spice, or the kernel of No Immigrants, No Spice started. And around that time, we had Donald Trump as president. We were seeing images in the media of children in cages. The Muslim ban was all over the airwaves. And, according to effective altruism, xenophobia fits all the three main criteria. It's great in scale. It's affecting millions of people. There's a highly neglected area of work within xenophobia, which is flipping the narrative and telling the positive story of immigration. And it can be highly solvable. So with No Immigrants, No Spice, I have been using my own unique skill set to try to push a new narrative forward. And right now, pre-COVID or post-COVID, well, we're mid-COVID right now. During COVID, everything is online and virtual. We've pivoted that way. Pre-COVID, we were doing a lot of really amazing in-person gatherings to continue pushing this narrative. One of those gatherings was Barbecue Without Borders, which I know some of you were at. I had like a real heart-to-heart with Daniel there, tears in my eyes. I said, look at where we are. It was such a beautiful, amazing event. And what it was it was an event to leverage foodie culture towards a common goal. So raising money and awareness and sending a positive message about immigration. And it was objectively was a huge success. It sold out, over 450 people attended. We raised $12,000 in profit, which went to pro-immigrant legal aid. It made the SF Chronicle. We were able to link this story about immigrants from these chefs here, immigrants from Indonesia, Iran, and northern Mexico, connect their stories to barbecue and to a greater picture of America. So when we're mapping the impact, I feel, it was successful, is successful. But back to divergence and convergence. So all this is happening with No Immigrants, No Spice. And at the same time, I'm still working as a full-time emergency physician. And those same core values of compassion, justice, a sense of fairness, and quite frankly, a little bit of hypomania seeped into my work as an emergency physician. Part of my inspiration for starting No Immigrants, No Spice was the fact that I was seeing undocumented patients coming into the emergency room, both in Richmond and Oakland, a lot sicker than necessary. A lot of people are coming in and still are coming in later because they're scared. They're scared of deportation. So I had a patient who's a 45-year-old man who was he's undocumented from Salvador, and he was having chest pain for weeks. And he decided to come in finally when he was in a full-blown heart attack. And he survived, but your heart is supposed to squeeze at 60% is normal, and his ejection fraction, or that squeeze, was only 10%. So he's going to live a life with chronic disability, and it's because of that fear. So it felt important to me to talk about the work I was doing with No Immigrants, No Spice, or use those core values that I was utilizing with No Immigrants, No Spice, but also bring it back to my work as a physician. So I started a speaker series talking and focusing on immigrant health and health disparities, started podcasting, I started doing grand rounds, and kind of tried to make myself an expert in this field where, again, there weren't a lot of people talking about it. And to be honest, it was more work, but it made me more energized. It made me feel like more connected to my patients. And I think it makes me a better physician to actually understand the population that I'm treating. So that divergence converged into something positive. And then boom, major curveball. All this is going on. I'm working as an ER doc, I'm running this nonprofit, we're getting all this traction, and then here comes my baby. So motherhood is a new pathway that diverged away from everything I was doing, and it forced me to do the hardest thing possible for myself, which was to stop. Had to stop doing everything. I needed to gestate, I needed to throw up, I needed to feel like hell. And then I needed to give birth and then be 100% dedicated to this small, powerful, incredibly amazing and difficult little being, and reevaluate. And there were lots of moments where I said, okay, I can't do anything anymore. I don't know that I can diverge and split my energy away from my baby, Uma. And then, in those like very early sleepless months, I kept coming back to my core values of who I want to be, how I want to be in this world, and cliche as it is, how I want to show an example for my daughter. What kind of life do I want to show her? What kind of world do I want to live in? And how can I create a world that I want my daughter to live in and show her an example of that? Again, this other diverging pathway, I don't know if I decided, but I found a way to work smarter and not harder. And motherhood actually became an inspiration for my next campaign with No Immigrants, No Spice. So the next campaign that we're launching in the next week is all about postpartum justice. And, as you're laying there, if any of you have had children, and I think Trish might have just had a baby, I think I saw, as you're lying there, you can remember how vulnerable you feel. You're literally ripped apart. You've got this screaming tiny infant on your chest. And I'm lying there at Kaiser Oakland, surrounded by an amazing supportive network of healthcare providers. I have every privilege in the world. I work in this hospital. I am a physician. I have tons of support. My mother is waiting at home to cook and clean, and I have every privilege afforded to me, right? And I feel so strongly that it is a right that every woman should have. And, as a physician, I also know that there are some areas that are maternotoxic in East Oakland, where women are just having higher rates of death just based on where they're having their babies. And frankly, racism is affecting these mothers and giving them poorer outcomes. So I felt and feel that it's really important to focus on this. This is my own way of converging my experience as a mother and my work as a nonprofit advocate into something that I think is important, which is improving the health and postpartum care of Black mothers in East Oakland. I'm working with a group called Mothers for Postpartum Justice, and what they're doing is delivering postpartum services and nutrition to at-risk Black mothers through the Roots East Oakland Community Clinic. And through No Immigrants, No Spice, what we're doing is leveraging traditional postpartum wisdom within the immigrant community and diaspora in an educational campaign, and also raising money. And any money that we make during this campaign will go to this program. So my role as a mother informs my work with No Immigrants, No Spice. My work with No Immigrants, No Spice informs my work as a physician. And my work as a physician informs these other two roles. Working together re-energizes me in some way. And again, it's about, for me, it's trying to figure out how to work smarter and not harder. And, I do hope that in 2070, when I die, I can say, okay, I'm able to be all of these things that I want to be. So back to our exercise. I'd like everyone to look at that condiment that you picked out and try to relate it to a core value within yourself. And so I want you to take that piece of paper and I want you to write down one thing that condiment brings out in you, or you chose that condiment because it's supposed to represent you. So what is a core value that you have? And then I want everyone to go to gallery view, and we're going to put it up on the screen. There we go. Okay. Brighten the dish, spicy, sass, versatile, family, curious and salty, brighten the dish, endurance, not Bill Curtis, what does that say? Enhance, adventurous. Bag of chocolate chips equals making for people. Yes, family, friendly. That's beautiful. Spreading joy. Mildly sour. Championing local. Elevate. Is LSD a spice? I'd say yeah. Let's do it. LSD works. Versatile and goes a long way. Spreading joy, resilience. Brighten the dish. Subtle but effective. Beautiful. And now everybody also, I want everyone just hold up their condiments. I just want to see the condiment that you picked. Oh yeah. Yellow bird. That's an awesome one. Sir Kensington mayo. I love that. Malden sea salt. That's a good one. Vegan mayo. I'm with you. I have an allergy. Daniel, is that kimchi?
It's a Thai chili paste.
Woods. Christina, what is that? Woods of vampire. Wards off vampires. Yes. Garlic. South of north. Perfect. Szechuan peppercorn makes your tongue go numb, Jillian. Yeah, perfect. So you guys are amazing. Thank you for doing that exercise. This is just a really Old Bay spice. Love Old Bay spice. This is just a really simple way to cultivate community. I mean, you can communicate through condiments and spices and see, it's just a way to kind of try to connect to your own core values. So thank you for doing that. I would love for anybody to join us. Obviously, it's No Immigrants, No Spice started as a small idea and it's constantly in motion. So if you want to join us or be a part of the next campaign, hit me up on Instagram or email me. And that's it.
Yay! Wonderful. Thank you so much for spending time with us this morning, and happy birthday to
Great
us all.
job. That was awesome.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Yay.